Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. This is the Kohen in the gate. Now, today's lecture is going to be pretty instrumental in guiding a lot of you that may have likely come out of Christianity or some type of Christianity. Call it Messianic Christianity, call it whatever. Give it whatever label you want to. It's going to be pretty instrumental because I'm going to go right back to the Torah in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verse 5. And we're going to look at that. We're going to cut to the chase, straight to the point. And in Deuteronomy 6:5, where we are told that, and you shall love, and you can use any Bible you like. I have the Hidden Truths of Break Scrolls over here and the Abrahamic-Faith. And it says, you shall love Yahweh your power. In your other Bibles it might say, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Okay? Now, this is a Torah statement. This is what everything hangs off of. And of course, in the book of Leviticus, we had the statement about loving your neighbor. Okay? So these two statements we're going to examine by the mouth of Jesus. And for that, we have to visit the Jesus of Nazareth statement in order to visit Matthew chapter 22, verse 37, where it says, Yeshua or Jesus replied, love the Lord your God, love Yahweh your power with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might or mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. Then it goes on to say, all the law, that is all the Torah and the prophets hang on these two commandments. So this sums up Jesus of Nazareth's statement in Christianity, which none of the Christians to this day that I have come across understood it. None of the Christians I know, and to be honest with you, I didn't come out of Christianity, as you know. To be fair to Christians, they go to churches week in, week out. They do their Bible studies, they do their Sunday schools, and it all sounds very good. And it might be for them, but unfortunately, there is no change in their lives. Majority of the time, Christians have zero change. Okay? Now, that's problematic. If this statement was so easy, if these two statements are so easy, then why is there no change? See, for me, as a Kohen, it's paramount to understand that the Torah, the law, commands change. It commands blessing. It does not say just monotonously repeat statements week in, week out on the Sabbath, on Friday night, as the Jews do. Equally clueless on this. I'm going to say they're equally clueless. Most majority of the Jews are no better than Christians today because they are stuck in traditions that really fare them no better. The only advantage that they might have is that they have a command of the language in which the Bible is written, but that's not going to help them in actually understanding the spirit of the Torah. See, spirit of the Torah is not about understanding a language. And the language they speak is also not the language of the Torah. So just saying the words in the Hebrew don't make them any better. And this is to be a fair statement for majority of the rabbis in the world today, by the way. The world I'm talking about, not just Israel. So just because you can say a statement in Hebrew doesn't mean that you're better than your counterpart Christian in America or England or somewhere else in Europe who says it in English as their normal language. Or maybe they have a different language, like maybe they have Hindi in India or Urdu in Pakistan. So, but let's look at the gist of it. You see, because everything hangs on this. So if, according to Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth, if everything hangs on this, then isn't it important that we understand it? And we do know that God in the Torah has commanded us these statements. So, I'm talking about the love statement, Leviticus 19:18, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am Yudhewahi. So I think it's paramount that we understand these two statements in order to get to the gist of our lives. And I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty certain that you have probably heard lectures on these, just brushing these statements and making ridiculous claims that are not true. And when I say claims, what I mean is that Christians tend to think, and I know Christianity how they think because, I've visited churches in England and America and seen how they worship and what they do. And you don't even have to visit them. You could just go to God channel and listen to them and see what they're up to and what messages they give. And it's kind of nothing wrong with listening to the message because you're trying to understand what are they saying. Any religious group that makes claims, you're trying to understand what they are saying. Why? Because majority of the people in the world, they're not evil people. They are normal, good people by any societal standards. They're only trying to better their lives. So just because they go to a church, maybe a mosque, maybe a temple, synagogue, doesn't mean that they're going to become radicalized in some bad way. It just means that they're trying to perhaps better their lives. They're thinking that if I go to this building and listen to this message and try to appropriate the message, my life will get better. That's all. My children's lives will get better. It will become easier. Okay, so remind me if I miss it that why don't rich people like talking to poor people? And it's kind of part of this message as well. It's part of this message. Maybe I'll touch on it at the end. So one of the reasons that the church has been largely a failure for many people, I mean, we're not talking about the good things they do, like they're building a hospital, they're building a school. Maybe you can count that as a good thing for people. But majority of the people are brainwashed. And that brings me to the point of why the rich don't like to speak to the poor. Because you will see that many people in churches today are poor. Let's be honest about it. Not many people in churches are millionaires. They don't all go to Hagee's church and are millionaires, or in Houston and are millionaires. Let's be honest about it. Majority of the churchgoers in America are very normal, down-to-earth people that have regular bi-weekly or monthly paying jobs, and they're not rich people. They're not millionaires by any standard. Maybe, you may have the one odd person who happens to, see a vision in the sky, and he was already a millionaire and he came to church to give thanks to God. That's a special case. So the question is this, that then those regular people in churches, are they becoming millionaires? And the answer is no. Because I have visited people, I have, in my walks, I have traveled many countries. I have traveled in my short life, plenty of life ahead, Baruch Hashem. In my short life, I have traveled many countries, over 30 in fact, countries I have traveled. And I've spoken to many people of different religious groups. I've spoken to Muslims, I've spoken to Chinese people, Confucius, I've spoken to Japanese people, I've spoken to Native Americans, I've spoken to regular Americans, I've spoken to British, Europeans, Italians, all sorts of people. I tell you, Mexicans, all sorts of people. I've spoken to all sorts of people in the world. And I haven't even crossed this far on the east, but I've spoken to tribal people, different tribes. They wear different hats, caps, turbans, different styles. and different brands of religions. Maybe Islam, different types. When I say types of Muslims, I mean from different backgrounds. They may have the same faith, but they practice it slightly differently in their backgrounds or cultural norms. And Hindus as well. Many Hindus. I've spoken to many Hindus. I've even been to their temple. I, in fact, went to their temple in Pakistan, in Karachi. I went to a big temple, a Hindu temple. A friend took me, and I took pictures of their all the deities, statues that they have, the different deities that they believe in, Lakshmi, Hanuman, and Vishnu. You name it, I saw them all. Ganesha. I visited their temple, and they're all there. And because they all represent different classes of powers. I don't see them so much as idols. I see them as different classes of powers, and that's how Hinduism understands it as well. Different classes of powers to bring different things. It's almost like in Christianity, you have different brands of Christianity, like you have a Orthodox Christianity, where they have Mary as a brand of power that basically brings in one kind of power. Then there's Jesus that brings in another kind of power. Then you have the different brands. When I say different brands, different. I don't want to call it a cult because I don't insult people. Because you may have Jehovah's Witnesses another brand, Mormons another brand, etc. Call it different brands. It's like perfumes. You have different brands of perfume. Some nicer, some got much nicer smell, and some got not so nicer smell, and some just very average smell. So I'm just using that as an example. I think it's much easier to respect people, because now let's come back to the point of loving your neighbor, because we're going to talk about states, because these are states. I spoke about states once before, and states are important in manifesting law, because the Torah speaks about manifesting law time and again in a very sometimes open, sometimes hidden way. So what is the state of loving your neighbor? According to Christianity, and you can definitely try to correct me if I'm wrong. According to Christianity, loving your neighbor means that if your neighbor is hungry, that you buy groceries and go and give it to that neighbor, so that he doesn't go hungry. That's one way of loving your neighbor. There's many other ways to love your neighbor. I mean, I'm just giving you one example. Another example might be that your neighbor could be somebody on the road who's injured, and you stop and you help that man. Maybe you take that man to the hospital. It doesn't have to be somebody living next to you. It could be someone 50 miles away or 5,000 miles away. And you pick him up and you take him to the hospital, and that is classed as loving your neighbor in Christianity as well, and maybe some other religions. So if that is loving your neighbor, and if that is, because that is how Christians that I've spoken to have understood loving your neighbor, is that they want to be charitable to their direct neighbors, and they also want to be charitable to people on the road, and all sorts of situations. So is that loving your neighbor? Is that the Torah command though? Is that the Torah command to love your neighbor? Is that the definition? I mean, is it the definition? See, here's the crunch. The crunch is this: is that the definition? And the answer is going to shock you that it is not the definition. That is not the definition of loving your neighbor. It's shocking. It's absolutely shocking when I tell you that, because you're going to say, why? How come this is, this is not the case? Because the command has been completely misinterpreted and misunderstood. As I told you, knowing Hebrew doesn't make you any better, or knowing French, don't give you extra points, because there are people in our groups. Children of Israel are all nationalities today: French, British, Americans, Indians, Pakistanis, and Chinese, and many other nationalities, Koreans, so on and so forth, even Japanese. So my point is this, that that it is not the command. It doesn't cut it. See, this is the way where things change. And now I'm going to tell you what really is loving your neighbor. And you're going to be shocked to hear the truth. What is loving your neighbor? Loving your neighbor is not about giving them groceries. Loving your neighbor is not about giving them a helping hand to take them to the hospital. Loving your neighbor is taking your food plate and saying, well, I'll let go of my meal today and I'll give it to my neighbor because my neighbor is hungry. Or I'll cook soup for them and I'll take it for them, and that's loving your neighbor. That's absolutely not loving your neighbor. If that's what you've been doing in your life, and I know some people, and I'll tell you a little story, which is absolutely 100% true. I met a Catholic woman in England several years ago, and she was about 50 years old at the time. And this is maybe going back maybe 10, maybe 15 years. And she was 50 years old at that time. And maybe she's older, a lot older now. But she had aged gracefully. She was from a Catholic background. She was very intellectual. We became friends. I don't know how we became friends. Maybe we met somewhere. We became friends and I started to talk to her. And I said to her that, what is your faith? And she told me that her faith is Catholicism, or she's Catholic. I said, okay, explain to me what is Catholicism. So she explained to me what she believes and what she follows. And I took it to I listened to that lady, and then I told her, I said, what you follow and what you do, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but what you do is not what is commanded. She was shocked. She said to me, are you telling me that 50 years of my Catholic faith that I've been doing is wrong? I said politely, yes, that's what I'm saying. Whatever you're doing for 50 years is not what has been commanded in Scripture. Now, traditions have crept in, other things have crept in, and what was the original message has totally been changed to something else. And this is what I mean. And then she actually listened to me, and I convinced her with my message that she needs to change her ways. I said, I wasn't there to root her out of the church and throw her somewhere else. I just simply told her that the message was not correct and she needs to seek the correct message. And it's up to her, whether she does or doesn't, because I'm not here to evangelize her or, put her into a group and say, it's going to give me brownie points because I brought a woman from hell into heaven. That's absolutely not true. She was a good woman, very educated, intellectual, and a rich woman as well. She wasn't a poor woman. And so she, listened to my message, and she readily took heart to it, and she did actually go out of her way to understand it as well, because she stopped Catholicism right there. And I told her that. And then she, from what I understand is, when I had the interaction with her after a while, she did pursue a knowledge in the right places just to understand better what she was doing. So coming back to the message of loving your neighbor is not about cooking meals for them and putting it in their, on their doorsteps, or knocking on their doors and saying, excuse me, ma'am, excuse me, sir, I've cooked this meal for you. Would you like to eat it? That's definitely not loving your neighbor. If that's what you're doing, then you are also clueless about the command to love your neighbor. So what does love your neighbor mean? Love your neighbor means it's self-concept. What is self-concept? Self-concept is what you think of yourself. Now, if I won't give you my example. I'll give you somebody else's example. If somebody else, let's make a hypothetical character. Let's make a character and call her Jane, okay? And Jane may be a hypothetical character that thinks of herself as inferior to everybody else. And Jane also thinks that she, doesn't get a fair chance as everybody else. And Jane also thinks that she struggles to make bigger salary like everyone else. So that is what I call self-concept. Her self-concept of herself, of Jane, is totally messed up. And when she continuously dwells on it, because her inner conversations are always going to be that she has low income, she is living in poor housing, she is undervalued, and she is not succeeding in life. I mean, these four are pretty big things, if you ask me. They're pretty big things. So Jane is dwelling on those things all the time, our hypothetical character, and this, dwelling on this, is creating her self-concept. Her self-concept is actually destroying her. By the way, that is loving your neighbor. What is loving your neighbor? Is your self-concept of what you are. Now, wherever she goes, wherever Jane goes, whoever she meets, she's always talking about her self-concept, which is what? She's on low income, she is not succeeding, and she's in poor housing. So wherever she goes, or maybe everybody else is earning more than her. So wherever she goes, she's parroting those statements in some form or another. It could be Jane, it could be somebody called Jack as well. It could be a character called Jack. And they're both parroting these statements. And that self-concept of them is destroying their life. And, by the way, that is what love your neighbor means. Love your neighbor means what you are to yourself, self-concept. So, instead, what Jane should be doing, her self-concept should be that she is a great person, she is a kind person, she makes great income, she has great housing, she is succeeding in life. I've given you 5 things. So if Jane went with that self-concept of herself, or Jack, and they started to parrot those out to everybody they met on the road or in their life, now that is love your neighbor, okay? Because you're taking your self-concept and you're parading it out to the public, and the public sees it, and the public follows it, because if you're a successful person, you want to follow that self-concept. How many of you do not want to follow Jeff Bezos' business model of success? How many of you will say, hey, I don't want to be a billionaire like Jeff Bezos? I doubt many of you will say that. So many of you will say, well, yes, I'd like to have a successful business, even through a website or online business where I can make millions of dollars, millions, maybe even billions, and if not billions, millions, hundreds of millions. My point is this, that I've given you a very simple example of a misconstrued command in the Bible, and I can tell you Hebrew back to front of that command, but I don't need to, because I'm not here to show you my Hebrew, but and I brew every day, make my own tea while my wife is out. But my point is this, that he brews, so kind of thing. The point is this, that the self-concept is what Jesus of Nazareth, or what the Torah, or what Moses wrote. Your self-concept is loving your neighbor. If your self-concept is great, you will touch people with greatness. Think about it. Think about it for a second. If your self-concept is good, you will touch people with your greatness. So what you need to do is build a self-concept statements. You need to have 4, 5, maybe 6, maybe 10 statements that are your self-concept statements every day, that you speak to yourself and you build your self-concept. They will be tremendously helpful to you in success, in making you a successful, vibrant, happy person. That is statement of love thy neighbor. That was supposedly the second statement, okay, according to Jesus. And according to the Torah mentions Deuteronomy as love thy Lord your God. Love the Lord your God with all your heart. Okay, let's come to that statement. That is also, I want to touch on that now, because I've probably already shocked you enough to give you a real example of a proper understanding of the statement versus a mismanagement of the statement. Now, even though you knew all the Hebrew, all the Aramaic in the world, you still got the statement wrong. And hundreds of rabbis are getting it wrong. Hundreds are getting this statement wrong in the Torah because they may not believe in the New Testament, and majority of the rabbis, don't. Of course, Orthodox and traditionalists don't, unless you're a Messianic, and they say that's an oxymoron. But anyhow, my point is this: that they're still getting it wrong, even if they go to the Torah and even they speak the Hebrew and they can do Hebrews back to front and they can do Aleph Bet all day long. It doesn't matter. It's futile because their Aleph Bet didn't help them to understand the statement because their self-concept is still messed up. How many rabbis I have read about? I can tell you that I have read about several rabbis in medieval days and in Europe, in Poland, for instance, where a lot of Jews lived. I've read about several rabbis that were very poor people. Now imagine why. Think about it for a second. The Torah commands you a blessing, which means that you should be prosperous. But if the rabbi is poor, what is the problem? Is the problem the Torah, God's statement, or is it the rabbi's understanding of the application of that statement? And I can prove to you that you can pick up many books today on the shelf and from Jewish bookstores that talk about different rabbis in Poland and other East European countries that lived extremely, let's put it the word modest, or modest lives. They were not rich people. And that sadly is your sum total of so-called Hebrew experts. Okay? So totally misapplied, misunderstood statement. And the Torah didn't say that you have to live to be poor. If that's what the Torah is, then our forefathers were right. Because they were all rich people. They were all prosperous people. Abraham was a very prosperous man. Jacob was a very prosperous man. His Isaac was a very prosperous man. And as you know, Abraham left. He left his part of the world. God told him to leave and go down south to Israel. And Abraham left his prosperous area to go to another prosperous area and become more prosperous, because you remember Abraham had a run-in with his nephew, I believe his nephew Lot, and he had a problem with him in that there was a lot of land and they had a lot of cattle. Both of them had cattle, and their herdsmen were fighting over who gets the grass areas, feeding areas. And Abraham solved that in a second. But anyhow, my point is this, that they had a lot of animals. They had a lot of cattle, maybe donkeys, camels as well. Because Abraham sent 10 camels for his son's bride as a gift, loaded with gifts. So he had a lot of camels. And 10 wasn't the only number he had. He had loads of other camels still behind in his stables. And 10 were the only ones that left. So giving you a point, if my forefathers were rich people, prosperous people, wealthy people, if you're today a cattle rancher in Texas, and Rabbi Kefa will probably tell you that if you own 100 or maybe 1,000 cattle in Texas, you're not going to be a poor man. That's for sure. Because that's what we're talking about, the character of Abraham. They had thousands and thousands of cattle. So they were not poor people. Now, if a rabbi, for whatever reason, is living a mediocre life somewhere in Poland or lived it, then the fault is not with God. The fault is with the understanding of the statement. Because, he may be blessed in many ways, but he's definitely not blessed in prosperity. And that's the problem. For somebody like me, that's the problem, because you did not understand the statement, did not have the full application of it. So that's one part. Now coming back to the first statement, the greatest command, as Yeshua Jesus put it, the greatest command was that you love the Lord your God with your heart. To Christians, and again, this is something that you may want to listen to my message a number of times to get what I'm trying to explain to you. This is a radical change of concept. You never heard of this message before. And my goodness, unless you're hearing from one of my students, you may never hear of this message again. So the message is again this, that what does love the Lord your God really mean? Does it mean how hard I pray? Does it mean that I come every Friday night, according to Jewish understanding, and stand with my tallit on my head and start reciting some, prayers which are traditions, not even written in the Torah? Is that what love your God means? Or does love your God mean that I go to church every Sunday if I'm Christian? Or does love your Lord thy God mean that I maybe help somebody who is fallen ill in the street? Or does it mean that I wake up at midnight and stand to pray facing Jerusalem? Or does it mean that I stand and pray 3 times facing Jerusalem? What does it mean? You see, this is what's happening in the world today. Because in the world, in the Jewish world and the Christian world, love the Lord your God apparently means that you got to do all your prayers. For rabbis, for Jews today, modern Ashkenazim, it means that you have to recite 100 prayers a day, and it's all in their, they all have Siddur. We have a Siddur. But as I told you, that a lot of our prayers in the Siddur are not Torah, but they're traditional prayers. And some of them are Torah. Some of them are Torah, but many are traditions. So it's pointed out that, I point out that you don't have to recite traditional prayers if you don't want to. There's nothing wrong with that, not reciting them. And if you like to recite them, then it's okay. Is how you feel about it. So it's not, it's not a burden on you to do it. But it's still a good point to know about them. So my point is this, that these, thousands and thousands of rabbis over thousands and thousands of years have been teaching these thousands and thousands of commandments. And of course, in a traditional Jewish home today, you have to know 100 prayers daily to consider it some kind of blessing. Okay? Maybe you didn't hear that. Let me repeat it. In a Jewish home today, you have to say 100 prayers daily to consider it some kind of blessing. Is that what the Torah means, to love the Lord your God? The answer is no. And according to Christianity, does it mean to stand up in church on Sunday and give your tithing to the pastor? And they always command the statement. They always quote the statement from the book of Malachi, bring the money into the storehouses. When they want to collect money, they always are reading from the prophets. And when they don't want to collect money, then of course they don't read from the prophets. See, Christians are pastors. I call the Christian pastors, not the people. The Christian pastors will always use commands from our books for their benefit. When it comes to money statements, they'll always pick statements from the prophets and other books that we have that they don't touch otherwise. They don't even have a clue what they're reading. They don't even know who those statements apply to. But they will try to apply it to themselves, because they don't apply to any Christian, by the way. No pastor ever can claim that the book of Hosea, for argument's sake, or Malachi applies to them. So nothing to do with them. There were no pastors, by the way, in ancient Israel. And if there were pastors, they were probably pasturing sheep and not people. So let's get that straight. So maybe they were pasturing pigs as well over there in Israel, because apparently Jesus drove out the pigs, right? So my point is this, that what does it mean? So I've given you all the little blurb around it to give you a little understanding. I'm not here for entertainment. I'm here to give you proper knowledge and application of proper Torah knowledge. This is the point that I'm trying to make. And if you got the gist of it, and if you really understood what I'm trying to teach you, your life is going to be radically changed. You're not going to be the same person next week. Next week, you're going to be a much better person and a changed person. And Torah is going to bring that radical change in your life, to change your life forever. And you're going to say, you know what? I heard a rabbi, I heard a Kohen speak, and a Kohen spoke the words I've never heard anybody speak, and it's changed my life forever. That's what's going to happen. And that's what should happen if the proper application of Torah is applied. So what does loving the Lord your God mean? It doesn't mean none of the things that I told you earlier about praying hard, praying on the Sabbath, wearing a tallit, doing all these dances, and wearing zitzits and blah, blah, blah. None of that. So what does it mean? Let me tell you what it means. Loving the Lord your God with your heart. Heart is a euphemism here for your imagination. Loving the Lord your God means that you imagine your act with a full sincerity that God will bring it to pass. That's what loving the Lord your God means. Shall I repeat it again? Loving the Lord your God means the heart is euphemism for imaginative act. Using your imagination. Imagination is key to getting with God, because imagination is God. And with your imagination, you connect with God and you bring your desire to reality. That is loving the Lord your God, what that means. Now, do they teach that in churches? I can already hear silence. Silence of the lambs. Nobody's saying nothing. Okay, crickets. Okay, the answer is of course not. They don't teach that in churches. They do not teach that in synagogues either, by the way. So there you go. You can know all the Hebrew you want. And you can know all the Aramaic you want. But your definition of loving God would be incorrect, and majority of the people are doing that. So just go and ask somebody. I mean, maybe you have relatives who are Christians. Maybe you have relatives who are Jews who go to synagogues. You can ask them, confirm it. That's what's happening. So loving your God is a state of imagination. And when you go into an imaginative state, I call it the Moses state. When you go into the Moses state, you can bring great things to pass. You can bring houses. You can bring cars. You can bring wealth. You can bring businesses. You can bring great things to this earth. That's what loving your God means, because Abraham loved God. Because remember, it says Abraham was God's friend. He loved God. Well, if Abraham was God's friend, then he loved God, right? Because you can't be friends and not love your friend. And so he brought great things on this earth. When he left his home, Ur of the Kasdim, when he left his home, which was in Turkey, by the way, he left his home in Turkey and he came down to Israel. He produced great things by loving God, using his imagination. And that's what you're supposed to do as well. So what do you do? How do we perform this act? Well, let's suppose, here is my other idea that I'm going to give you. Majority of everything we want hangs off money. Okay? So instead of trying to manufacture a car or, desire a car, a home, maybe clothing, phones, whatever. Okay? You simply want to go for the kill. And what is the kill? The kill is money. So let's do this. Let's assume that you desire $400,000 cash. Okay? $400,000 cash today in October 2021 will buy you everything you need in America. So, for instance, I'm not talking about a $500,000 home. You don't need to live in a $500,000 home and, pay $15,000 or, biannual tax, 6 monthly tax. You'd be stupid to do that. If you did, you definitely need your head checked out, because you would be stupid to pay $15,000 for 6 months tax to the government to live in a $500,000 home. That's not very sensible, by the way. Now, in America today, and I've lived in Florida and I've lived in Ohio, and those are the two key places I've been in, and I've been in Texas as well, but I haven't lived in Texas very long. I've just visited Rabbi Kefa a number of times, and I visited other states in America. in America, in Ohio, or in Florida, where I've been, you could have easily acquired a home. When I was there last year, for instance, and things have only moved up a little bit, not a lot, by the way. You could, even today, you could pick up a home in Florida, Pensacola, Florida, for $70,000. A home that is 3-bedroom, maybe has some repair work, maybe needs a little bit modification, like modernization. You can pick up a $70,000 home easily today, even today. Now, in Texas, of course, you may have to pay a little bit more. In San Antonio, maybe you're looking around about $150,000 for a home. And you can pick up fixer-uppers, and maybe you don't like fixer-uppers. Maybe you like a home that's already fixed and you only want to make some modifications, and that's okay. I can guarantee that you can pick up a home in San Antonio for around about 150. That is pretty decent to live, 3-bedroom house. And you could probably modernize it and make it to your desire. 150,000 will actually pay for your entire loan. And if you want to go slightly higher, 200,000. Okay, 200,000 will pay for your entire home. Now, if you desire to have $400,000 cash in your bank, you could pay for the $200,000 home completely, and you would have no mortgage for the next 30 years, mostly in America, or 25 years in England. You will have no mortgage. You're free, totally free. All you got to worry about is your bill and food. Easy, right? So I always say to my students, manifest money as a top desire. Manifest money first. Put two goals for money. One is your immediate goal, like $400,000 to $500,000 is your immediate goal of money. And then you can have an intermediate goal, which might be 1 to 2 years, which will be your higher amount. It might be like maybe, $1 million to $2 million or $5 million. Maybe $5 million is a 2-year goal, and maybe $100 million is a 5-year to 10-year goal. That's what I advise my students. I advise my students to go for a $400,000 to $500,000 goal, because that will meet all their expectations. It will buy them the home they want, or pay for the mortgage, pay for the loan. You can get all the iPhones you want. You can get all the clothes you want. You can get all the perfumes you want, and your shoes, and you can even buy your car for $40,000, $50,000. You'll still have money spare in the bank, by the way. If you had $400,000 cash and you wanted to get a $150,000 home in many parts of America, easily can do that, you will still have spare money to go to the restaurant and enjoy your Chili's, lava cake. So there you go. That tells you that I've been in America. I've had the lava cake in Chili's. It's pretty nice. I think you should all try it. So this is my point. Live in the state to produce. Your top goal should be your $400,000 amount, or $500,000. Let's just call it 400 for argument's sake. Let's stick to 400K. Get your 400K, and your majority of affirmations that you've written, majority of your statements immediately you can tick off because you got them all. There you go. You brought all your manifestations to pass. Correct? Now, let's talk about the intermediate goal. Your intermediate goals might be businesses, might be more money, like maybe now you're talking about $5 to $10 million, maybe higher amounts. So these are intermediate or medium to long-term goals. So medium to long-term goals, of course, have them in there, but make the priority your immediate goal. The 400,000 should be your priority, and the other should be second priority. So, you have about 5 statements that are your priority. Out of those 5 statements, one should be saying that you have received $400,000 in cash. Okay? That should be the first statement. And how do you word it? See, language is very important, because language is what brings it to pass, and Torah is all about language. I'm not talking about the Hebrew language, by the way. You can say it in Chinese if you like. So the language, you might say to the effect of, it's normal for me, or it's natural for me to have received $400,000. Okay? Now, let me actually make it even easier than that. I'll make it even easier for you. Since I'm the Kohen in the gate, and I'm already, a master in these areas, I can help you even further. I can help you because rather than say that you want to receive it in this particular way, there's another way to receive it that I was giving to one of my students, is that you might say that you're making $1,000 a day. Okay? Now, if you make $1,000 a day, that equals to $365,000 a year. Because we're counting 365 days a year, not counting leap years. So if you're making $365,000 a year, that is a pretty decent salary, by the way, pretty decent. So that could be another way. You could go that route and you could say, you know what, rather than receive it in a whole chunk, yeah, it's nice to receive it in a chunk, and of course you can, nothing wrong with that. But you could say, I like to receive it as $1,000 a day. So you could put an affirmation out, and let me give you the affirmation because I think I've written exactly one for it. And let me find it. Here it is. It's natural for me to create $1,000 a day. It's natural for me to create $1,000 a day. Okay, that is your $1,000 statement. Now, the other statement for the millionaire would be that it's quite normal for you to be a self-manifested millionaire. Okay, let's word it properly. It's quite normal for me to be a self-manifested millionaire. It's quite normal for me to be a self-manifested millionaire. Now, these are the two statements that you want to hang everything on. Okay, just like the law, the Torah. Hang everything on these two statements, and you will not go wrong. You will get every desire in your life. You will have a happy life, and if you are married, you'll have a happy wife or a happy husband, whichever way you want to see it. So these are the two you want to hang everything off, because this is Torah, by the way. This is real Torah. Real Torah is not about, real Torah is not about putting your guts out there and working 18 hours a day. That's not real Torah. That's killing yourself. 20 hours, 22 hours. That's killing yourself. By the way, I did that at one time. I did work 22 hours a day. I don't kill myself, but thank God that I'm still alive and well. But my point is this, that just because you work longer hours doesn't mean you're going to become rich. Many people who work longer hours are still poor by worldly standards. Taxi drivers, I know taxi drivers in England, I'm talking about England, maybe it's similar in America. Taxi drivers in England drive anywhere between 12 to 18 hours a day, and they are still poor by worldly standards. They might make a home, but their home takes 25 years to pay their loan. So it's not exactly rich. They're not rich by any standard. They are just normal people. So my point, 18 hours a day doesn't mean that you're going to make more money or you're going to be rich. So this is why I said hang everything of these two statements I just taught you. Just create two statements. One to be a self-manifested millionaire, and one to receive either $400,000 or one to receive $1,000 a day. Okay? Now, of course, you can up it, but I'd say no, don't do that. I'd say up it after you manifested the first part. If you manifested $1,000 a day, then you can up it, you can double it. And double it becomes over $700,000 a year. Okay? You can double it. So to 2,000, or you can make it 5,000, much higher. But I'm saying don't jump too high. Let's start with, manageable chunks, because we are now really following Torah. We're not following worldly standards of religious Torah, religious standards. We are following the proper Abrahamic-Faith given standards of Torah. And if you follow those standards, there is no way on this earth that you will not be prosperous. You will 100% be prosperous, and it will be God who will be making you prosperous, because you followed the Kohen exactly as a Kohen told you, and that's what you needed to hear. So with that, I want to thank you that you at least spent the time and listened, and I would ask you and I would request you to listen to this message more than one time to understand, because you will, as you listen to it more times, you'll get different understanding to help yourselves and your family. I want you to be happy with your families. I want you to be prosperous with your families. This is why I'm here today. So be very prosperous, be very happy, because the more prosperous that you are, then the more great relationship you'll have with God and other people around you. And the least prosperous and the least happy relationship. This is why I said that rich people don't like talking to poor people. Why? Because the poor people are already brainwashed. They're brainwashed. Because why are poor people brainwashed? Because the poor people will tell you that they have many problems. They will tell you they have excuses. They're excuse makers. So they're poor because they've got excuses, number one. Number two, they're brainwashed because they'll say, oh, the government did it. Oh, it was Mr. Trump. Oh, it was so-and-so politician. They're blaming the politicians and they're blaming the rich people. Oh, it was Bill Gates. He did it. Oh, it was somebody else who did it. See, this is your poor people example. Poor people are excuse makers. That's why rich people don't like talking to poor people. Have you ever seen rich people in your world today? Have you ever seen them clamoring to talk to poor people? The answer is no, they won't. Because they know that poor people are excuse makers and they're already brainwashed and they won't believe what they tell them and they're going to waste the knowledge that the rich people got to give them. So they do not give their knowledge to poor people. They'd rather give it to somebody they're close to who will apply that knowledge in business, for business success, for argument's sake. So anyhow, I want to leave you happy and content, and at least you understood two commands in the Torah properly and those spoken by Jesus of Nazareth. If you believe in Jesus of Nazareth, no problem. So these two statements, if you understood and you've gone into the Moses state, you're going to be a very prosperous man. I can tell you indeed. So be in the state, go into the state, visualize. You go into what we call a SATS state, a state akin to sleep. You kind of like close your eyes, you kind of not fall asleep fully, but you're kind of half awake, half asleep, and you imagine your state, like you imagine your desire, which is your money desire. You're receiving that $400,000, or you're receiving $1,000 a day, or that you're receiving $1 million. So you imagine that, and what would that be like? Well, maybe a friend is congratulating you in your imaginative act. A friend says to you, congratulations that you received $400,000, and you're saying, thank you. That's all. You loop it. You loop it 10, 15 times, and you might fall asleep while you're doing that. While you're doing that statement, you fall asleep, and that's okay, because you can take an afternoon nap and do it. That's called SATS, afternoon nap. So an afternoon nap, you do your SATS, state akin to sleep. State akin to sleep is SATS, and you do your imaginative act. It's very, very powerful, and it's a punch, and it will get you what you want. It'll get you that next high-powered job that you want. If you're looking for a $100,000 to $200,000 job, it'll get you there through SATS. If you're looking for a $400,000 cash injection, it will get you that. So stick to it. Do it. Don't be afraid, and don't doubt. You will be successful. Hashem, have a great, wonderful Sabbath and great week ahead. Over to you, Rabbi Kefa.
Yourself, which is more important. So, Angel, welcome to this forum. I don't know if you're a male or female, so I'll just call you Angel. Welcome to this forum, and truly take something from it. If you never come back, take something from it that will propel you to have a more successful and a better life for yourself, to where you have the default settings of peace, love, joy, and happiness always. And you believe in yourself. And I want you to, Angel, I want you to believe in yourself, bro. I want you to believe in yourself. Don't doubt yourself, because this is where it all starts. It all starts with that relationship with yourself. That's where it all starts. People want to look for God outside of themselves, and that's where they totally miss it. That's why I missed it. I was looking for God outside of myself when I realized that God is within me. If God said he'll never leave me or forsake me, wherever I go, I could be in China or I could be here in San Antonio, Texas. God is still going to be with me. Baruch Hashem. I don't have to go seek for him in some building somewhere. He's wherever I am, Baruch Hashem. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of it. When you really begin to understand it, and when you're taught right, and when you have the proper tutelage, and when you're under the umbrella like right, Brother Davis, when you're under the umbrella of that shepherd and you're not that lost sheep out there, just like, you're out there wondering and we've all been there. You're out there wondering and you think you don't need a shepherd, but you do. Even Abram had a great teacher. How many of you know who Abram's last teacher was? Does anybody know? I mean, if you have the Hidden Truth We Break scrolls, you have the Abrahamic-Faith Bible, you have the insight already. I mean, there you go. It was Shem. Shem was Melchizedek that they talk about in this Parsha. Parsha Vieira, they talk about that Melchizedek came. The priest, the high priest. That was Shem. That was actually Abraham's last teacher. Baruch Hashem. He was also taught by Noah as well. They taught him. Remember, they had Abraham as a baby. So, Adelia, you're not wrong. He wasn't the last teacher, but Noah was definitely one of their teachers as well. So, I mean, our history is so rich. But what good is our history if we don't propel and what good is it, how do we honor our forefathers and foremothers, our patriarchs and matriarchs, if we're not taking the step and taking a baton, Angel, and moving it forward instead of 10 steps backwards? You know what I mean? So, the default settings for all of us is to have peace, love, joy, and happiness in our lives and to have successful lives. We're not to live mediocre lives. We've been caught up in the conditioning of Christianity and all these other religions that we've been in and that we came out of, which were great experiences because now they help us appreciate life even more, right? Like Rabbi, like one of our rabbis always says, in order to get to heaven, you got to go through hell. And this is proverbial because there's no such thing as a heaven and a hell. Your heaven and hell is a fictitious. If you want to make heaven right here now, you can. Right here. You want paradise right now, today, you can. If you want to live in hell right now, believe me, you can do that as well. The choice is on you. The onus is on you. This is not a place where you're going to come here and find fear factor where we're going to frighten you. They're in a little Halloween season right now where, you want to scare you or frighten you into, complying with whatever, a particular mantra that they have going on. It's not about that here. It's about peace, love, joy, and happiness and finding that for yourself however you find it. And, a lot of people say, well, money can't make you happy, but money can definitely facilitate happiness, and you need money, just like Akoin said. I mean, it's so true. You need money, that energy of money. You need to have a great relationship with money, Angel. And you can't sit here and have a bad relationship with money. Think about that, Angel. If you sit there telling, I'm not going to have money, I'm never going to have money, how am I going to get? It's not the how that you need to ask. The question is what do I need to do to acquire a great relationship with money so money can come to me and I can attract money? Ask yourself this, Angel. Do you want to be a money attractor or you want to be a money deterrent? Ask yourself that. What do you want to be? Do you want to be a money attractor? Do you want to attract money to you? Or do you want to attract money away from you? You see? The how is the Father's business. Oh, indeed. Well said, Oliver. Vive la France. Well said, Oliver. The how is irrelevant. I don't care how it comes. It can come to me. Jeff Bezos could give it to me. It could come to me. I could hit the lottery. It could come. The how doesn't matter. Your belief system is what matters. You got to feel it. You got to feel that $1,000 a day, $1,000 a week coming in like it's coming in. Because your feeling is your faith. So the question I have to you, Angel, is how do you feel? Well, I feel like I don't know how I'm going to get the $1,000. Well, guess what? That's how it's going to come to you. And I'm not picking on you, Angel, but I'm trying to break down all of that conditioning, those barriers that you've been taught over the years. That, okay, well, how? Well, and the doubt of just like, again, your biggest enemy, Angel, is yourself right now. And you're having a battle within yourself right now. And that's what's going on. And a lot of people can't handle it. They can't handle dealing with themselves. And so they can't handle dealing with themselves. So they what? They have to leave. They have to go. They have to, blame it on something else. You have to stay in there and stick in there and begin to establish the relationship first with yourself. Hakoin, I'm a student of Hakoin, Rabbi Simon Alta, who we just heard. All of you consider yourselves students of Hakoin as well. I know you do. So I'm not asking you to affirm it because this is why you're here. If you're here, you're a student of Hakoin in the gate. Kohen, a priest of Israel, Baruch Hashem. So I hadn't even listened to his lecture, but this is how on the same wavelength you are. When you're a student of Kohen and you accept and believe in him, and you believe in what he's telling you is true, and you have that Abrahamic-Faith Bible that backs up, I mean, my goodness, it took him over approximately 10 years to put the Abrahamic-Faith Bible or the Hidden Truth We Break scrolls together, to transliterate it into our history into a way to right all the wrongs, Baruch Hashem. And I tell you, you do yourself a service in getting that Bible, getting those scrolls, and add them to your library and your studies. We've been put on this earth for a very important reason, and that is to live our lives how we want to live it and on our terms. You see, but with the laws of Moses and the Moses mindset, we have different terms than the rest of the world. We think differently. This is why we were called a peculiar, a special people. We're a treasure type of people. And we should be attracting people to us that want that kind of treasure, that want that peace, love, joy, and happiness. And money facilitates that. Love facilitates that as well. Man, when you find that person, how many of you have that mate? How many of you are complete and whole? Hakoy just sent me pictures of one of our students in Pakistan. He just got married. And I'm so happy for him because now I text in, I say, you know what? Now you complete. You see, you're half of a man until you find that woe man, Baruch Hashem. And woe man, when you find that woe man, my goodness, then you become complete, you become whole, and now you can get on with living your life. But it's all about establishing relationships even on that level. We have a relationship with the creator of all things. We have a relationship with the God of Israel. We have a relationship within our family here. We are all a family here. We have relationships. And that's all when you look at the holy books. When you look at our holy books, you look at the Bible, whatever you want to call it, it's all about a relationship. It's all about relationships, plural, right? And so we must learn how to establish relationships. But we cannot begin to get on with establishing relationships unless we begin to get on with establishing relationship with ourselves first. And I tell you what, Mishpahah, and some of you may be able to, you may have the same experience. I spent many years not having that relationship with myself because I thought if I just have good relationship with everybody else outside of myself, then the relationship with myself would it'll just kind of fix itself and it kind of just fall into place. You know what I mean? I spent a lot of periods of my life pleasing other people. How many of you have been there? You spent many just pleasing other people. I just want to please this person. I want to please that girl. I want to please the girlfriend. I want to make sure I please the father, my mother. I want to make sure I please the boss man. I want to make sure he's happy. And I never really looked at pleasing myself. What do I like? What do I love? I'm too busy asking questions like, what do other people love? What do you love? So I can help you get there instead of saying, well, what do I love? And you know what came to me this week in my meditations, Mishpah, was this. It was all about impressing people. Not impressing people, but I asked myself this question. I said, and I began asking myself this every day is, what am I going to do to impress myself today? Isn't that beautiful? What am I going to do to impress myself, Bertha Shaw, today? Bertha Shaw saying, Rabbi, this was part of my study. Since then, and since in the last 2 weeks, I was informed that millions are due in my family because of who we are. Okay, Rabbi, this was part of my study. Since then, and since the last 2 weeks, I was informed that millions are due to my family because of who we are. Because of who my people are. Millions, billions, Baruch Hashem, Bertha Shaw. And it can be yours, and you don't have to beg for it. All you have to do is believe it, manifest it, feel it, call it in, angel. That's what you have to do. It's a language. You see, in a relationship, you have to speak a certain language. Just like this student of ours in Pakistan, believe me, he had to speak a certain language to get that woman that he wanted, right? That's now his wife, right? How many of you know what I'm talking about? You have to know the language. You have to be able to speak the right language. I know my wife is Chinese, from China. I went to China. I mean, Shane, I'll tell you, My Chinese is I don't have a big vocabulary of Chinese, but again, we were able to connect because we had a love language. She loved me and I loved her. And it's not so much of me speaking, but my language was what I did, my doing. And I did a lot of doing to woo my wife. I did a lot of doing. And it's not because it's because I felt the urge to do, not because I had to do it or I'm trying to impress her. I wasn't trying to do that. I was just being myself. I was being real. Baruch Hashem, in that relationship. And this is what you need to establish and understand with every relationship, is that you have to make the relationship real. You know, your relationship with money has to be real, Angel. You can't sit here and deny money and expect money to come to you. You can't sit here and doubt money and expect money to want to come to you. Oh, man, you got to romance money. How many of you romancing money up in here? Put up an R if you say, Rabbi, I'm romancing money. You gotta have a romance with money. You got to have a relationship with money. You got to love money. I love money, and money loves me, and we have a relationship that's going to last forever. That's what I say. I love money, and money loves me, and we're going to have a relationship that will last forever. And money comes to me from all directions, Angel, from all directions, north, south, east, and west. So Angel, when I say that, I don't have to worry about the how, because I'm making it now. Money comes to me from all directions. It's not how, it's now, Angel. You get what I'm saying, Angel? And I'm not picking on you, but I'm helping you this day. I want to infuse into you positivity. I want to infuse into you the language of money, the language of manifest, the language of Moses. This is Moses' language we speak in here, Mishpah. This is Moses' language. Baruch Hashem. And that's what it's all about. You have to be able, and you have to believe it. You have to feel it. You can't say it and then doubt it. Oh, man, then, you just shot it down. Your bird was flying, but then you shot it down because, you believed it for a minute, and then you begin to deny it. You deny it. And before you know it, it never materializes in your life. You never see it in the physical. So the relationship first must start with yourself. And just as I was saying earlier, I'm a student of Akohi. I didn't listen to his lecture. This is the first time I'm hearing his lecture, as you guys have heard his lecture this day. And get this, the title of my lecture? What the title of my lecture is? The Golden Rule. And how many of you have tasted, dipped the water in Christianity in some way, shape, form, or fashion? Anybody? Put up a capital C. You say, yeah, I've dibbled and dabbled in my relationship. I had some form of Christianity, some way here, there, some down the road. So you all understand what I mean when I say the golden rule. Even in Catholicism, Oliver, I went to catechism. I was an altar boy and all that. I don't remember them calling it the golden rule. Now maybe they do, but I know, Christians love to call it the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. But again, that's an important point that we must understand. They talk about the love your neighbor part, but they never get into that ending statement, to love yourself. That's where it all starts. It all starts with self. It all starts with you having that relationship with your subconscious, opening up. I think Brother David said it well earlier as he texted in. You got to begin to establish and open up your subconscious, awaken it. And that's what, we're told in the Holy Books that Israel's going to wake up out of her slumber. That's what it means. You wake up, your subconscious wakes up, and you realize you're not this African American like what they told you. You're not this black person that's cursed like they told you. You're not an American as they told you. You're Hebrew. You're descendants of Abraham, Baruch Hashem. That the dust and the stars in the sky, they talking about you and I, Baruch Hashem. That's what they're talking about. And so we are a special breed of people. We're a special breed. See yourself as special. We don't operate and think like the majority of these nations that we've been dispersed in. And that's by design. And that truly is for a blessing, by the way. So that we can illuminate and be lights into these nations where we are. True Joy Ministries, welcome to the room once again. And thank you for your service to humanity. Understanding this, is that you want to help other people. First of all, you must begin to help yourself first. I spent many years of my life helping other people, and I rejected and I neglected myself, and I did a disservice to myself. I truly did a disservice to myself. But now that's all changed, because I understand if I'm truly going to help other folks, I must begin to help myself. If I'm truly going to love other folks, I must begin to love myself first. And that requires us to be a little selfish here. We got to get selfish, Mishpah. And that's counter to what you've been taught, right? You've been taught, you got to become the suffering servant, and you got to suffer in this life, and you got to go through this life miserable, and you got to go through this life busted and disgusted and broke and trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. No, you don't have to do all that. The word says Episcopal, Baptist, non-denominational, apostolics, Church of God, in Christ, Assembly of God, Lutheran, da-da-da, and da-da-da, and da-da-da, Devorah. Here's one for you. I got this one. I had a good laugh off of this one this week. What has 2 O's on each end and a high in the middle? What has 2 O's on each end and a high in the middle? Anybody knows? What has 2 O's on each end? 2 O's on each end and a high in the middle? The answer, Ohio. I thought you liked that, Ohio 5. I thought you liked that one. So Brother David is saying, I went one time to my mother's church one time. They said that they have the Holy Ghost and fell on the floor and started doing the worm dance. Yeah. Hey, Brother Davis, I used to be a part of that group as well. I thought you had to do this, to get that little feeling, you get these little goosebumps, and you get these goosebumps all over your body, and you start dancing like David. You got to do David dance, start dancing like David. And of course, you start speaking in tongues, shabba shabba doo, shooba shooba shoo. But all of that dog and pony show never got me anywhere. And I'm wondering, if I'm not getting results, then I'm moving on. And my father taught me that. May he live on in the next life and be prosperous in his next life. But my father taught me that. It's like, look, if you're not comfortable somewhere, pack up and go somewhere where you can be comfortable. And don't give up and don't give in until you find your comfort zone. And believe me, I'm in my comfort zone here under the umbrella of this Torah. This is my comfort zone. This is where I was meant to be, Mishpah. Don't sit here wasting wonderful energy on, man, why did I spend my years in this? Why did I spend my years? It's chalk it up as experience. And utilize that to give gratitude and thanks for where you are today. And a high appreciation to the Creator of all things for bringing you to where you are today and guiding you and assisting you. These steps have all been prescribed by yourself. You've done all these things. The Most High hadn't take you and move you like a chessboard piece and say, okay, knight, you're going to go there. Queen, you're going to go over there. I'm going to take my bishop and put him there. My pawns, you're going to do this. No, it's not like that. But that's contrary to what we've been taught. Because the first time you get in your little prayer closet and you do all that little mumbo jumbo, you say, God, why did you let this happen to me? You want to put the blame on God, and God don't, that's pig water. You can't blame God for the situations and the actions that you've taken based upon your decision-making process. You did it all. So instead of pointing the finger at other people, you need, again, to point the finger at yourself and look at that relationship with yourself. A lot of folks on this earth have not done that yet. They still out seeking for things outside of themselves, pleasing other people instead of pleasing themselves, looking for God in all the wrong places, in these buildings and all these other places instead of right within inside of them. That's where the power is. Baruch Hashem. So I titled my lecture The Golden Rule. The Golden Rule. Now, some things that I got from my Kohen's, that's what the Christians call it. They call it the Golden Rule. But in listening to our Kohen's lecture, I wrote this down. I wrote this question down. I said, who is your first neighbor? I know you have, person on the left, right, maybe the back and front of where your house resides right now, or if you're living in an apartment, but who is actually your first neighbor? That's the question that came to my mind during Hakoi's lecture, Rabbi Simon Altef's lecture. Anybody want to take a stab at it? There's no wrong answer. It's just your opinion. Anybody want, who is your first neighbor? A divorce says yourself. Think about this for a minute. Who do you actually live with the most? Who is your first neighbor? Who is the first, you got the first lady? Who is actually your first neighbor? Think about that for yourself. James says your mate, yourself, me, and my family. Who is your first neighbor? Think about that for a minute. Think about who do you spend the most time when you wake, from the time that you wake up in the morning to the time that you lay down and close your eyes to rest. Who's your first neighbor? I would say myself. I would say myself because that's the person I spend the most time with throughout the day. That's the neighbor that I see the most, right? That's the neighbor that I see the most. Is myself. This is why we have to get in with ourselves. We have to connect with ourselves. We have to have a relationship. This is not about a religion. It's about a relationship. This has nothing to do with religion. If you're here for religion, you're in the wrong place. If you're here to get some religion and get some nice goosebumps, blah, 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 no, you're in the wrong place. But if you're here to learn how to live your life and live your life exceedingly beneficial and exceedingly full of blessings and benefits, because your life hinges on what you desire for yourself. And you don't come in on your own terms, but you could definitely leave on your own terms. You could definitely go out on your own terms. And I've seen that. With the passing of my father, he went out on his own terms. He didn't want all the pomp and circumstance. My father passed in his sleep. He went out on his own terms. Was he a happy man when he passed? I submit to you not. His wife had passed and he never recovered from the passing of his wife. He never got on. And this is why I've noted, as a student of human nature and as a professional nurse, I've noticed this as people age on and they get up in age and maybe like that relationship with that significant other has been severed because maybe one of the sides have passed. They've passed on to the next life. And so the person is, for all these many years, they've been with that individual. And the two, like I said, a man is not complete unless the woman is there to make him whole and truly complete. I believe that. So all of you out there that have the mindset, you may be listening on Facebook or you may be listening on YouTube, and you're saying, man, I'm going to stay single forever. That is totally not the nature of the laws of the universe for a person to be single and mingle forever. That's not the law. That's not the universal law. That's not the universal principles. Neutrons, protons, atoms, electrons, all that, they all play a role. They don't just single. And just, well, I'm just going to be a neutron and I'm just going to stay neutron. No, you got to connect with the protons. And it's all, you see yourself as energy, because that's what you are at the end of the day. And energy cannot be destroyed. It just changes form. But I see this in people who, like my father, in the passing of his wife, he just never got on with life. And he wasn't a happy person. I wouldn't say he was an angry person, but he just wasn't happy. He wasn't happy, and I would say he was like a sad person. He died of sadness. He died in his sadness because he was never able to get back on his feet and put the song back in him. I tried to put the song back in him. I tried. His system is, hey, man, Pop, come on, man, so much to live for. Come on down here in San Antonio. You know what I mean? That's well said, Devorah. He was in a state of grief. He just never recovered from the grieving process. He didn't want to. Believe me, that's not what and this is why it's all about what you want. Yeshua ben Joseph, Jesus of Nazareth, I can say, well, what do you want? He didn't go around just doing miracles just to do them, Miss Farah. No, don't see Yeshua ben Joseph, Jesus of Nazareth like that. He didn't go around just, okay, well, yeah, I feel like doing about 10 miracles today. I'm gonna just do it. Oh man, all these people following me and I know they're hungry. Let me take these loaves of bread, these fishes, and feed them. No, the people wanted to eat. The people were hungry, so he did it out of their want. Miracles are done out of want. So my question to you, Angel, is what do you want? Hey, Angel, if you can text in right now, can you tell me right now, what do you want, Angel? I mean, out of all the things that you do, just name the number one thing that you want right now. Well, I mean, what do you want? And see, that's how you begin to move and make the miracle mechanical. It can become, it can start to flow. But you got to know what you want. Too many folks on this earth know what they don't want. Right? Think about that for a minute. Too many folks on this earth know what they don't want. But they don't know what they want. Angel, tada for that. Thank you for that. Angel says, I want to be a billionaire. Well, let me tell you, this is what you begin to say. I am a billionaire. I want you to say that every day, every single day. Say it until where it becomes a part of you and it becomes real and you begin to believe it. Say it. Every day. I am a billionaire. I am a billionaire. I am a billionaire. I am a billionaire. Say it. You say it every single day. I am a billionaire. I am a billionaire. Begin to say it and you'll be it. Begin to say it and you'll be it. And it'll become real. And you know what, Angel? Begin to watch movies and go on YouTube and just begin to see how billionaires begin to live and begin to see the billionaire life and begin to see it and you'll be it. That's real. Brother David says clothes, food, clothing, and shelter to keep the rain off my face. Baruch Hashem. Whatever you want. Well, what do you want? You got to know what you want. A lot of folks know what they don't want, but they don't concentrate. They focus so much on the negativity that they can never get to the positive side of life. And what are we as the children of the books? We are the positive side of life. We're not how that's going to get done. We're not the doubting side of life. We're not the doubting Thomases. And you see this in this Parsha Vieira. Sarah was the same way. Sarah was like, I'm going to have a son. Can anybody tell me what the powers of the Most High said to her when she said that? We ought to go there and read that because that is so significant. I'm going to have a son. This old beat up womb is going to have. Anybody want to go with me on that? I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there. Look at Genesis chapter 18. We'll start at verse 11. I read from the Abrahamic-Faith Bible, the Hidden Truth Erased Scrolls. You don't have this Bible, please get it. Add it to your library. It's going to be so beneficial to you. The commentary in itself just blows you away. Genesis chapter 18, verse 11. And now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age, and Sarah had passed the age of childbearing. Sarah had passed the age of childbearing. Is there such thing as passing the age of childbearing in our way of thinking? With the Moses mindset, is that even possible? That's not even possible for me. No such thing as you passing the age of childbearing. But let's keep reading. Look at verse 12. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I have grown old, shall I have the pleasure of my master of being old also? Look at verse 13. And Yahweh said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I surely bear a child since I am old? Oh, no, here we go. And then look at verse 14 of Genesis chapter 18. Is there anything too hard for Yahweh? And I ask you that same thing. Is there anything too hard for you? Is there anything too hard for Angel? Is there anything too hard for Bertha Shaw? Is there anything too hard for Devorah? Is there anything too hard for Lion Princess? Is there anything too hard for Oliver? Is there anything too hard for Ohio 5? This is what you need to consider every day. When ego want to creep in and when your mind want to come in and feed you them, them negative mind messages and tell you, man, you can't do nothing. You're not going to be nothing. Is there anything too hard for you, Nehemiah? Hell no. There's nothing too hard for you. There's nothing too difficult that you want, that you desire. There's nothing. Nothing. Don't be fooled. Don't fool yourself. Don't go for them Jedi mind tricks, man. Don't let your mind play tricks on you. There's nothing too difficult. There's nothing too hard. Genesis chapter 18, verse 14. Is there anything too hard for Yahweh? At the appointed time, I will return to you according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. And then on that note, the messengers left. They had to roll out. Because why? They don't like being around negativity. Let's keep reading. Genesis chapter 18, verse 15. But Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, no, but you did laugh. Sarah had doubt. Sarah didn't believe. You see, this is what happens when you have doubt and you don't believe. You see, the believing side can't be around you. They're going to still infuse positivity, but then they got to, it's deuces. They got to get going. They don't like being around negativity, negative people, people who have doubt, people who don't believe. This is what Courtney was saying. Rich people don't like being around, being around old, being around people who have the old thought process and don't have a great relationship with money. They can't be around that because why? They like to put themselves in an atmosphere of positivity. Am I saying segregate yourself from the world? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that when you get in those negative environments, infuse some positivity, then roll out. And those that, kind of taking a liking to that positivity that you have, guess what? They're going to seek you out. They're going to come find you. Believe me, they will. Like, man, what you said at the water cooler, man, that was some wisdom. Boy, you sure are wise. Wow, man, that what you said, everybody had their mouths wide open after you said that. What else can you tell me more? I want to learn more about that. See, then they'll find you out. You don't have to sit at the water cooler and have a debate. That's not what it's about. Our way of life is not a debate. Our way of life is a way of doing. Another D word. We don't debate. We just do. And people fall in love with what we do. And how we do it. And people just love our doings. Man, I've been watching you. I've been having my eye on you. I've been watching you. And I like what I see. I like that. I like that you always happy. I like that you always find the good and all this bad that's around. You know what I mean? I like when you talk, people listen. And when you talk, great words come out your mouth. Is there anything too hard for Yahweh? Anything, brothers, the letter Aleph is the running man, the man of action. There you go, Brother Davis. Now we cooking with coconut oil, Baruch Hashem. That's just what it's about. We're men, we're women of action, and our actions speak for us. We don't have to go out here evangelizing, apostolizing, demonizing. We don't have to do all that stuff. We just let our actions speak for us. Actions are louder than words. They sure are. And you take that and you use that in every one of the relationships that you have. It's not so much what I say to my wife, it's what I do for my wife that she appreciates. Oh, you took me here. Oh, I like watching this show. Oh, you knew I wanted a glass of water. She told me the other day, honey, I love you because before she said, I'm thinking of something that I need, and then you already bring it to me. I said, that's that connection that we have. The two become one, baby. I said, the two become one, and that's real. How many of you have that experience in your relationship with your significant other to where you do things for them before they even ask for it, and they're like, wow, I was just thinking about that, and then you brought it to me. Oliver, isn't that beautiful? That's you want to talk about just in sync? And I don't mean the group. You want to talk about being in sync? Isn't that so beautiful? That's a miracle. It's amazing, isn't it? But that's Torah. Because we're told in our Torah that the two are going to become one. And that's totally real. That's totally real. True Joy Ministries, thank you for coming in. For whatever you give us, Baruch Hashem. You're always welcome here and your family here. You're always welcome. You have a great Shabbat. Enjoy your Shabbat and continue doing your great service for humanity. Baruch Hashem. Brother Davis is saying, they say that 80% of learning come through the eyes and 20% through the ears. Wow. Brother Davis, what a statement. That's on the science front. What a statement. What a statement. What a statement. Yeah, because that other 80% through the ears, it go in one ear and out the other. I tell people, I said, man, I just told you that. It seemed like it just went in your one ear and then it went out the other ear. My goodness, man. So you leave them to it, huh? That's why that 80% comes through the eyes. What do you see in there? What are you seeing? And that's what people, I mean, you look at humanity, that's what they're looking at. They're looking at you. You see, you can't see it. You see, Sarah, she couldn't see it. She couldn't get beyond, she was blind. She's blind. But her thought was just to laugh and blow it off. Why? Because her thought process was what? Well, let's look at what Torah said. Well advanced in age. I like the way they put that. Well advanced. Don't call people old. But Torah does say that in Genesis 18:11. Now, Abraham and Sarah were old. Well advanced in age. It also says that Sarah had passed the age of childbearing. No such thing as past. When we pass, we pass. But until then, we present. Wow. That was from the Mbokama. That was from Mother Wisdom right there. When we pass on to the next life. But until then, you present. Wow. You in the now. You a billionaire now. You a millionaire now. You a homeowner now. You driving that car now. When we pass on to the next life. Baruch Hashem. So, past the age of childbearing? No such thing. No such thing. Still in doubt in Genesis 18:13. Why did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I surely bear a child since I'm old? See? Doubt. Doubt. I'm going to talk about this in a minute. We're going to talk about appearance. You want a miracle to come to you, and you want to have a relationship with a miracle? How many of you are manufacturers of miracles? Put up a hand. If you want to have a relationship with a miracle, one of the first things that you cannot do is doubt. If you doubt, you're going to hinder and you're going to slow up your miracle from coming because you doubt. You disbelieve. You don't feel a baby. I don't feel like I can have a baby. Then guess what? You're not going to have a baby. I don't feel like, then guess what? You manifest and you're going to physically get a physical presentation of whatever you feel. Believe me, that's real because that's your belief. So keep on believing and keep on feeling bad. And guess what? You're going to manifest feeling bad. It's going to be a physical presentation. See where we're going? So we have to get out of the Sarah mode. While she laughing about it not coming, I'm going to be laughing all the way to the bank. Baruch Hashem. You know what I mean? I'm going to be laughing while I'm pulling the baby carriage. Baruch Hashem. I never gave up on my belief that I would have a son. I never did. And I never will. Now I'm ready for the daughter. I've never given up on my belief that I'm going to have a daughter too. Never given up on it. Baruch Hashem. The wife not on board yet, but that's okay. She's just a vessel. She's just a vessel. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. So I'm never gonna give up on the belief. When I pass. Until then, I'm present. I'm gonna stay present. Too hard? Bah humbug. No such thing as too hard, Mishpah. No such thing as too hard for you. If there's no such thing as too hard for our Creator, too hard for the El Shaddai, is there a such thing as too hard for me? No, but I hear it all the time in consultations, in phone calls. Oh, Rabbi, that's just too hard. Life is just so hard. Well, if you keep talking like that, that's just what you're going to get. First of all, we got to change the way you talk, the way you think. You change your belief system. Get out of doubt and come into desire. Get out of doubt and coming into do. Well, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And see, a lot of people can't handle this, and this is why they got to go. They got to leave. Oh, I got to do something? Well, I felt more comfortable being over there in doubt, and a lot of folks are, Mishpah. And this is why they never get on with that fullness of a life, an exceedingly blessed and abundance of a life, because they enjoy being on that side. You know, there's two sides to it, to the scale, you see. And so you have to leave them in that condition, Nehemiah. If they're not willing to change, I'm not going to force them to change. If you want to be, angry bird your whole life, then, I'll leave you to be an angry bird your whole life, because that's what you desire. What people desire is what they're going to do. You can infuse some change in them. Say, hey, maybe you ought to try to do this. And if they desire to change, they will. Or when they're ready to change, then they'll come find you. But this is not for you to impress the Torah upon anyone. The mind of Moses is not to be impressed upon the world. Wow. That may be newsflash to some folks, but it's not. You're not to impress the mind of Moses on the world. You're to live this life. You're to live the mind of Moses. You're to be the mind of Moses. And those that want to come to you and pick your brain and pick that mind, then you open it up to them a little bit. Give them some little golden nuggets here and there. See what they do with it. See how they handle it. Don't sit there and try to feed a baby a, sirloin steak. Because what's that baby going to do? The baby going to regurgitate it, going to throw it up. Can't handle it. Can't digest it, right? Same way. Same way. And I know a lot of us fall in that category to where we wronged a lot of people in this area. We came out with our super Hebrew cape on, with the big H on our chest, and we say, no, man, I'm going to tell y'all what y'all doing wrong. Oh, man, we can't be doing that. That's not mandated. That's not loving your neighbor as yourself. You're not even loving yourself because you're not being just, right, and fair to them as well. It's very, very important that we understand that. And if anything in this life, we want to be just, right, and fair to all people. Because I want to look at, before I close, I want to get into the Sodom and Gomorrah situation, because we need to look at this whole situation, because I also want to talk about appearance. And we read that in this parsha as well, and we need to look at this. And I want to ask you a question going forward. But let's read it first. Let's look at Genesis chapter 18, verse 1. I read from the Abrahamic-Faith Bible. Then Yahweh appeared to him by the terebinth tree of Mermi, as he was sitting by the tent door in the heat of the day. Now, and Yahweh appeared. I want to talk about appearance for a minute. How many of you in this room can say, I've had an appearance from the powers, either from the angels? How many of you can say, let me put this, how many of you do believe in angels? How many of you do believe in angels? How many believe in angels? You believe in powers? You believe in, spiritual beings? Now, it's an important question. What are you saying, well, Rabbi Kefa, are you saying that because Halloween is coming up and blah, blah, blah? No, but do you believe in spirits? Do you believe that there are spirits out there? You got to understand this. Torah's telling us that there's spirits out there, that there's powers, that there's principalities, and there are powers. Don't just look at this stuff for your responses. All of you saying, yeah, Rabbi, there are. So how many of you have actually had an appearance, or, you have an appearance, and you got to be careful. I want to say this in a way, because some of you may have had an appearance, and it may not have been a physical appearance like what Abram got here, but you may have had some other kind of appearance. How many? Put up A if you say, Rabbi, I have. I've had an appearance with entity, with a look. Shane said, looking in the mirror. Wow, Baruch Hashem, in dreams, Baruch Hashem. And my father used to always say this. Maybe my father, I told y'all, he used to always pick up people on the side of the road. And I'm telling you, he picked up this one dude this one time, and I'm telling you, when he dropped that guy off, I looked back and that dude was not there. Nehemiah said, when I was incarcerated, Baruch Hashem, bars can't stop these appearances from happening, right, Nehemiah? You're a witness. You're a witness and a watcher to that very point. So, you see, and again, quote unquote, being in prison is actually a good place where, you know, you can find some freedom, Baruch Hashem. Indeed. So the reason why I say that, Brother David says, I worked in prison for 16 years and seen all kind of stuff. I was like, Brother David, you could probably write a book. You could probably write a book on the experiences that you have, Baruch Hashem. So, as I talk about appearances, I want you all to understand something. There's a recipe. There's a recipe. There's a formula to making these appearances happen. A lot of people don't have these appearances is because they're missing the formula. They're missing the recipe. Yet they desire to have the appearances, but the recipe isn't there to formulate, to manifest an appearance. Now understand this. We've been taught many things by our Kohen and the Gate, Rabbi Simon, out there about angels. We all have angels. You know, angels play a key role in helping us get through this life if we utilize them. A lot of people don't utilize their angels. You know that, right? They don't utilize them. And we've been taught by our Kohen, and I know in personal teachings as well, I've been taught on our Kohen how to summons angels. How many of you know there's a process and a procedure to summons certain angels to you, that they can come to you, and they can assist you, and they can go out and do missions for you. Wow. Like Rabbi Kefa, you're getting heavy. You can send them out, and they can do missions for you. You can send them out like a Navy SEAL. Like you can send them out on missions to do things for you as well. You can summon, and they're here for us. They're here to help us. But a lot of times angels are ignored and they're not used. They're not utilized properly. Now, as you know, there are the good angels and there's negative angels and there's positive angels, right? As you know, with the Halloween, they try to, hype this all up. But, Halloween is actually a good time where they actually remember their deceased ones. And I think that's a marvelous thing. The Hispanics, I don't know how many of you have a Hispanic background, but they have this celebration where they call it the Day of the Dead. And that's a great time. Coco. Anybody watch that movie, Coco? That's a good little movie about how they always remember their ancestors. The good little cartoon is called Coco. Anybody saw it? Put up a capital C. You say, yeah, Rabbi, I know what you're talking about. Look, I'm a baby nurse. I'm a pediatric nurse. So I watch a lot of cartoons. I watch a lot of cartoon movies. Coco is a great little movie. You need to watch that little movie, but it's about remembering Brother Davis, you got his children, you know about it too. But it's about, remembering your lost ones. And believe me, their spirit is still there. They may go and live on another life and reincarnation and all that, but their spirit is still there and is always with us. So when you see your deceased ones that have passed on to the next life, believe me, you can still talk to them. You can still get wisdom from them as well. They're still in your lives in some capacity if you're not ignoring them and blowing them off and if you've totally forgotten about them. But there is a formula to these appearances. Now, especially when it comes to, the powers of Israel. And we're going to look at this in a minute because we kind of see some of the groundwork of the formula of how do you get an appearance from the Most High in your life. And there's two sides to it. You can get an appearance. Now, let's go into it because I think this is so very important for us to understand. So very important. Now, we just read about appearance there in Genesis chapter 18, verse 1. How many of you know what was actually going on there in Genesis 18, verse 1? We understand that Abram had just had what? He had circumcision done, so he was in a healing process from circumcision, right? We got that part down, right? We understand that, right? But also at the same time, these heavenly messengers, they've come down to actually celebrate a particular festival at this time. Can anybody know what that festival was? If you have the Abrahamic-Faith Bible, you know. If you have the Hidden Jewelry Braid Scrolls, you know. What festival was being celebrated here? Can anybody tell me of our festivals that we celebrate? Our high holy days, our set-apart days? Anybody tell me what festival? If you have the Abrahamic-Faith Bible, you know exactly what was going on. Read the commentary. You'll know exactly. It was Passover. It was celebrating Passover. Baruch Hashem. Celebrating Passover at this time. Passover's going on. And so also, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Also, when the heavenly messengers went to see Lot over there in Sodom and Gomorrah, we're going to get in that in a minute. Lot sat him down and was having also another celebration with them. Which celebration was that Lot was having? So you got Abraham having a celebration with the heavenly messengers, and then you also got Lot having what celebration was Lot having with the heavenly messengers as well? Anybody know? Unleavened bread. There you go. So you got Passover and unleavened bread taking place, to where there's an interaction with these, appearances with the Melachim, with the heavenly ones, with the heavenly messengers of the Most High, Baruch Hashem. And this is beautiful, isn't it? Now, what's the recipe for this? There's a recipe for doing right, and there's a recipe for doing wrong, and we see both of them being played out here. These heavenly messengers, they come to have the celebration with Abram, but also we understand that these heavenly messengers are on a mission. I'm going to open it up to see. I'm not going to read too much to you, because you all have read this over and over again. You all know what's going down. This is why I'm making it more interactive today. So what was the mission that the heavenly messengers actually had? Anybody tell me, what was their mission? Why would they even, they come down? Yeah, multiple mission, I would submit to you. It wasn't just all bad. It was all good, because remember, our way of life, our default setting is to be balanced, to be neutral. We're in these nations to be neutral. I'm not in America to be a Republican, and I'm definitely not in this nation to be a Democrat. I'm just not here to do that. I'm here to be neutral. I'm here to help this country that I'm living in. Bertha Shaw says to Sodom, to deal with them, indeed, destruction, to check out Sodom, indeed, exactly. This is exactly what was going on. They were on a mission. That wasn't their only mission. They sat down and they broke bread. Why? It's not because they forced themselves into Abram's house. Now, I want you to look at the character of Abram. What's the first thing? People pass by. He sees these men, and he welcomes them into his house. He said, no, you're going to come and you're going to break bread with me. This is the kind of person he was. Open to all people. These people, yeah, I mean, did he know? Did they have like heavenly messenger written on their forehead or something? Did they have like some kind of symbol that, oh, okay, these are special people? He welcomed them in. They're like strangers to him, and he invites them into his house. Now, Rabbi Kefa is not saying that you invite everybody to your house. I'm not saying that. Totally not saying that. Matter of fact, I'm telling you to do the opposite of that. You don't just invite folks into your house like that in today's time. You don't do that. You do not do that, Mishpahah, because you gotta be aware of the unawares. Your house is you gotta protect it and you gotta guard it. So you just don't be bringing strangers into your house. You do not do that. Don't do that. You don't tell them what they're gonna get in your house and try to do to you and your children. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm telling you right now, do not do that. And even I've seen and learned some great lessons from HaKohen's situations and experiences, that even those that come in under the guise of Torah, oh, I'm a Torah follower and Torah keeper, these could be some of the worst people that can wreak havoc in your home and cause all kind of problems. So do not do that. Guard your families and protect them. Now, you can go sit at Starbucks with them, have some Starbucks, right? Brother Davis, we had a great time at Starbucks, have some great conversation. But when it comes to your home, that's where you draw the line, you see. Devorah says the New Testament says that some entertain angels in unawares, and that's what I wanted to tell you all today. And be mindful of that today. These strangers that you interact with, these people could be, angels in disguise. To help you along your way, to help you do something, to come into your life, to see how you're going to respond, to see what you're going to do. Remember what I just said, to see how you're going to act, what are your actions going to be? I can remember when my father would pick up people on the side of the road. Man, you know what my first action was? I was holding my nose because they stank and they smell bad. I'm like, man, why is my father, and I'm just, I'm a teenager. Why is my father picking up these people and they smell? And then they get out of the van and the whole van is still smelling. I didn't see the bigger picture. Why? I was blinded. Teenage blind. How many have been there, done that? I didn't understand. I didn't get the full picture, but now I see it. Totally get it. Because you never know who you're entertaining. And I tell you, after he picked up that one man, and I looked back, and that man we dropped him off, and I looked back, and that man was not there anymore. And it was just seconds that we just dropped him off, closed the door, and I'm looking to see where he's going to go, and he's not there. That's when I realized, wow. I mean, the guy couldn't have just disappeared like that, but yes, he could have. Because we could have been, I said, man, that was an angel. That's the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, wait a minute. So we got to look at the mindset. What was his mindset? We look at Abram and we see, okay, yeah, he wants to sit down and he wants to break bread with them. That's how we should be with all of humanity. That kind of, like Brother David said, that kind of characteristic of being kind towards all. Showing loving kindness to all people, regardless of what their religion is, regardless of how they believe, even if they're not the most positive people in the world. You still be kind to them. You show kindness. You don't sit there and put yourself in a judgment seat, because that's not our place. It's to be in a judgment seat. It's totally not our place. But our place is to be kind. It's to show kindness. But in order to show kindness, Brother Davis, we have to be kind to ourselves first. Golden rule, right? If we gonna give out kindness, then it has to be within us to be kind, because that's what's gonna come out of us, right? Is kindness, right, Adelia? If I couldn't sit there and be kind to somebody when I'm not even kind to myself. You see what I'm talking about? This is why Hakoi's lecture it ties in exactly with what I was saying from my teacher. The student is learning. The students, from the teacher's mouth, the student will speak. And it ties right in. Golden rule is that I have to have kindness within me, and I have to be kind to myself first before I can even demonstrate kindness to anybody else. Show kindness. Do kindness to anybody else. This is why it's so important as students of human nature. We must see this. Golden rule for all of humanity. It's like we got to internalize everything. Not that we judge in the world. We're not. But we have to sit back and we have to study and see things the way the individual sees it, and don't judge everybody as a collective. Oh, just because you Mocha Brown, all Mocha Browns act this way. No, all Mocha Browns don't. Just because you have dreadlocks, all dreadlock people act this way and smoke marijuana. No, they all don't. We have to sit down and judge them on a case-by-case basis so that we can understand them. Because we're not really judging them. We're just looking at the actions so that we can understand them. How many of you in this world want to understand people? I do. I truly want to understand folks. I want to understand folks around me. I do want to understand you. You have to help me understand you. I don't want to hate you, and I don't hate you, but I do want to understand you so I can see what point of view you're coming from. Because your point of view kind of strange to me. I don't, we're not on the same level, and I get that, and I mean it in all due respect. I'm not saying that I'm higher than you and all. No. I say that in all humility, is that I do want to understand you. So I have to sit there and study you, and I have to listen to you, so that I can understand where you're coming from. You see, the verse says we are Hebrews. We as Hebrews are only to judge ourselves and those in our camp. Yeah, high judgment goes on yourself. You see, and then let the judges in the camp judge the camp. But you got to judge yourself daily. You got to see where you stand and where you need to. You got to see, where do you need to tilt your scales so you can find that balance in your life. You see, and that's why I began to ask myself this week, well, how can I impress myself today? What am I going to do to impress myself today? Because I want to impress myself. Every day I want to impress myself. So we have to get to this. We have to get to this understanding with this golden rule factor. Is that in order for us to really experience the golden rule, we have to really begin to understand people. Do you understand that Torah is all about people? It really is. It totally is about each and every individual person. That's what the Torah is about. The mind of Moses is all about each and every individual person. It's about the person. And it's so flexible that it can fit each and every individual person. That's the beauty of it. Excuse me. That's the beauty of it. And that's what separates it from all this religion mumbo jumbo out there. You see, religion makes you fit. How many of you know what I'm talking about? You've been in religion. You all told me. Religion makes you fit their mold, right? It's telling you, you got to fit in here. You got to do things this way or else. You're not one of us. But Torah is just the opposite. Torah is flexible, and it has a place for you because Torah understands you. But for the most part, folks don't understand the Torah. You get it? Torah really does understand the individual, but the individual don't understand the Torah. And that's where we come in. Because we understand people and we help them see how Torah can fit them if they so desire to want to live this lifestyle, this way of life. It's beautiful. They don't have to live a life of just doubt, mediocrity, depression, anxiety. What do you have to be anxious? What you anxious about? You don't have to be anxious. Everything is in the now. Everything is present. It's in the now. We're not past nothing. Nothing is past. Everything is present. Everything is in the now. Right now. Like we stated earlier, our Torah tells us there's nothing too hard for you, for me. Nothing too heavy. Nothing. So, yeah, I got to get ready to close. But I want to get into the Sodom and Gomorrah portion of this portion because I think this is important. We see Sodom and Gomorrah going on here. We know the mission for the messengers was to go see what was going on in Sodom and Gomorrah. Let's pick this up. Look at Genesis chapter 18, verse 20. And Yahweh said, because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah was great, because their sin was very grave. Ooh-wee. Sodom and Gomorrah, their sin was very grave. What was the sin, Mishpahah? And this kind of piggybacks with our Kohen's lecture as well. Their sin was in themselves. Think about this book. Their sin was self. Think about what their sin was. I'm giving you a hint. Their sin was themselves. How they treat themselves. You see, because how they treat themselves is how they're going to treat everybody else. So how did the Sodom and Gomorrah people treat themselves? How did they, as Brother David says, how did they see themselves? So Nehemiah saying injustices is right, unkind to strangers, mistreating the stranger. So listen, Nehemiah, if they mistreating the strangers, what's the core root when we get to the grits and the greens of? Is they're mistreating what, Nehemiah? Themselves. You get it? Do you see how deep this is? This gets deep. See, superficial is saying what? Superficial is saying, okay, yeah, they mistreated. They mistreated the stranger. So let's take it a step further. If they mistreating the stranger, then what are they doing? In all actuality, they're mistreating themselves. These are self problems. Individuals. Remember I told you that the Torah is about people, about a person. You know. But what are you saying here? Now here we go. Look. Let's take it a step further. Here we go. Well, Sodom and Gomorrah was not a Torah law government nation, were they? Think about this. So how is the Most High going to come down and pass judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah who did not embrace the Torah of Moshe? Hey, that could be an argument, couldn't that be, right? Right? Couldn't that be an argument? But then let me counter that argument, what I've been telling you guys. Torah is all about people. People are the Most High's creation, aren't they? Think about this for a minute. So, this particular judgment that's coming down is a universal judgment. This is a judgment from the universes, because the creator of all things created all things and brought them forth. You see? So this is a high court. This is what I would put like, okay, you know how you have your local court systems and you have your state court systems? Right now, this judgment that's coming down is Supreme Court stuff. How many of you get what I'm saying? This is the highest law court ever. You get the view that upon you guys understanding this? This is like, look, man, you're hurting creation. You're messing with creation, and the outcry, like we see in Genesis chapter 18, verse 20, the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah was so great. Because their sin was very grave. Because these people didn't even give a damn about themselves, so they gave a damn about others. These people had no respect for themselves, so they didn't respect others. You get where we're going? You get where I'm going? Like, for instance, says they were extremely cruel to others despite the increases they had. Extremely cruel. Very grave was their sin. What is this sin? Because I don't want to be that. This is why I always teach you all about the default settings and remind you all, my family members, about our default settings of peace, love, joy, and happiness. That's who we are. At the core of the Hebrew. At the core of the Abrahu. At the core of Abraham. And if you have the Abrahamic-Faith Bible, you know that word Hebrew actually originates from Abraham, Abrahu. And then its newest derivative is Hebrew that we have today. So all you Hebrews in the room, that's where you Abraham is in your name. Your name is Abraham. You are Abraham, Baruch Hashem. So you see this, Mishpah? Isn't this heavy? There's some heavy stuff here when you begin to understand the golden rule. You want to get, when we talked about, we talked about getting the attention or attracting the attention of the Most High. This is how you do it on the negative front. We talked about appearance. You want the Most High to make an appearance? Let me tell you what you do on the negative side. Is you continue to hurt yourself, and then you begin to manifest your hurt and the hurt of others. You're going to get an appearance. You're going to get an appearance. You're going to get an appearance from the heavenly host that's going to come down and want to see. Let me see what's going on. Like Brother David talked about. Let me go down there and see what's going on. Let me see. Let me go down there and see with my eyes. I don't want to hear. I'm tired of hearing all this stuff. I'm hearing it. The hearing has reached to where? The hearing has reached to where? The hearing has reached, as we read in our holy books, that the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah was so great. The hearing is great. You see, when people come into play, remember we talked, this all ties in with who we are as a people. It's, again, a relationship issue, isn't it? Relationship issue, isn't it? It's all about your relationship with people. This is what sets us apart as the what? The light to the nations. So, you all have to be clued in on this, because if you don't, as I heard from Brother Davis, it's easy for you to get caught up in the mix. Some of these so-called groups. Look at how they treating people. We Torah, we God's people, but look how they treating people. Look at how they treating people. They're very judgmental, saying that they better than somebody else. Abraham never said that. Oh, I'm better than you. Your daughters are going to wash my clothes. What kind of shit is that? How you treat other people. You see? Nehemiah saying, Hebrews in America, meaning these camps, teach Sodom and Gomorrah differently. Oh, yes, they do, don't they? Right? Because, yeah, Nehemiah, you're right, because they don't have any understanding. No understanding. No understanding. They too busy trying to overstand the Torah instead of humbly trying to get underneath it and understand what it means. What does it mean? And you're only going to get that understanding with a Kohen in the gate to assist you and give you guidance. That's why I'll never leave the Kohen. I'll never, ever, ever leave the Kohen in the gate. Because I understand what my place is. And then, hey, that's why, Abraham was so great, because he had great teachers like what? Shem, like Noah. They taught Abraham how to live life and how to respect people, all peoples. These are people from the boat. They made the boat. They made the cruise. They got cruise tickets. These are some special people. We're here to infuse positivity, not hate, not all this negative in the world. That's not what we're here to do. We're not here to do all that. We're not here to be a part of all that stuff. I'm going to steer clear of all that. Stay very far away from all that stuff. Because I understand the God within me, that's not his nature, and that's not his character. He has a character of kindness, like Brother Davis was talking about, that kindness, that compassion for all people. And when he sees the injustice of all people being brought out by some other people, then, yeah, something needs to be done about that at a higher level. And that's what we see with Sodom and Gomorrah. But you must understand, some people like this life. They like putting down other people's. They like this life. They love it. They love doing that. And believe me, you're not going to change them. That's their nature. That's what they want to do. And they find pleasure in doing that. This is why judgment has to come from a higher power to correct and give a balance to the universe. There's an imbalance in the universe when people are killing off other people and mistreating other people and just totally treating and just living like animals when you're supposed to be human beings. You see, there's an imbalance. And Mother Earth, Mother Nature, Powers has a way of cleaning that all up. You all understand that? Look, these are laws of the universes. Is that the universes have to be put in balance, you see? Baruch Hashem. Has to be put in balance, man. I'm telling you, there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance. And there will be a balance. You see that in nature all around you. Circle of life, baby. Just go watch Lion King. You see what I mean? There has to be order and a balance. It's the circle of life. You get conditions where the climate is too rough, too harsh. What happens? Then come in storm that will bring monsoon rains and just flood the earth with water so that, things can nurture and grow. And then it's a cycle. But when folks try to come in and interrupt the cycle of the patterns that were established by the laws of the universes, then there becomes an issue. Then everything has to be cleaned up and put back in place. People are being born and people are dying every day. People are being born and people are passing every single day. That's a cycle. It's a cycle, Mishpah. The sooner you see that, the better. And you won't fear death. You embrace it. Because you're a part of the cycle. There's nobody in this room that you're not a part of this cycle. It's beautiful when you begin to understand the universal principles and the universal laws. Because that's what the Torah is. It's universal. The Torah has withstood and will withstand generations on top of generations. And as this earth changes, earth not going anywhere, but as it goes through its cycles of change, Torah will still stand. And Torah will still be here in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And that's beautiful, isn't it? That's the beautiful part of it. So Sodom and Gomorrah, and you see this in the character and the behavior of the people. You see this in the character of these people. And so, yeah, the angels went down. I got to open this up in the Abrahamic-Faith Bible, because this is very, very instructive. It starts there in, I think it's Genesis, Bereshit, chapter 19. And they go in, and you see the character of these people. Just wicked, just bad people. It's just wicked. Nasty people. Why? It's because they're nasty on the inside. But like I said, some people are going to like that. And then you see, and again, what does Abram do? He said, yeah, go get them. Go get them, messengers. Go down there and destroy them all, because they all wicked. And even Abram, look at his character. Even Abram, what is another character trait we see here with Abraham? He's compassionate. He's like, look, you know the deal. He begins to litigate for the innocent, right? He said, man, look, how you gonna kill all these people? There's got to be some good people in that camp somewhere that have that love themselves, that desire great things and think positive and have positive thoughts, and not always, thoughts are, continually evil all the time. You know what I mean? That's Abram for you. Showing compassion. Character trait number 2. First one was kindness. Now this one we see compassion and love. Wow. Why? Because Abram loves himself. So what do we see? Well, probably for the most part today, you see people today, especially on YouTube. Yeah, go get them, Yahweh. Go destroy them all. Matter of fact, kill them all. I want to go with y'all and watch. Let me go watch and kill all these evil people. Yeah, they wicked. They evil. They all bad. All of them. I call them all white devils, and they all going to hell and blah, blah, blah. No time for all that. Wait. Oh, pump the brakes. Stop. Wait a minute, heavenly messengers. I know there's a lot of bad people down there, but not all of them can be bad. Not all of them can be bad. Not all of them can be wicked. There's some good in there. We can find the good. We got to dig deep. We have to dig deep, but there's some good in some of these people. Heavenly messengers say, no, let's go down there. We're going to see it for ourselves. Let's see. Let's sit there and watch the actions of these people. And sure enough, they got to see it firsthand. Sure enough, they got to see it firsthand, that these people were wicked. Devorah says God is so merciful that generational curses only last 3 to 4 generations, and blessings versus blessings that are for thousands of generations. Oh, indeed, Devorah. Well said. Well said, Devorah. But again, you have to have the mindset or the mentality or the womantality, for that matter, to want to change, to want to reverse, you got to want to change. But these people didn't. Sodom and Gomorrah, they didn't want to change. Matter of fact, they was converting you. We gon' defile you and everybody. These people knew. Oh man, we're gonna defile them too, so they can be defiled just like we defile. You wonder why rich people don't stay around poor people? Mindset. Can't do it. Because they don't want to be defiled. They're too busy, thinking about inventions and other businesses that they can start, business ventures, and don't want to be defiled. You see, real meaning of Islam. Shalom to you. Welcome to the room. So this is what it's all about. It's all about us getting on. Sodom and Gomorrah is about a relationship first with people in general. What relationship with self, and then with people in general. And you see the manifestation of the relationship with self brought into the physical presentation and manifestation on how they treat others. This is a great lesson for all of us to learn, Mishpah, from this incident that took place. But I tell you, some people like that environment of Sodom and Gomorrah. And this is why, you got to leave them to what they like. And they suffer the consequences of, and, the good comes along with the bad. And that's just what happens. You know, people are to be treated like people should be treated. But again, people aren't treated like people should be treated because some people hate themselves and hate everything about themselves. And they manifest that in the physical by hating other people, mistreating other people, disgracing other people, defiling others. And that's totally not, that's not the nature of the mind of Moses. And we're descendants of Abraham, and we should know better. As we have taken this yoke of Torah upon us and embraced this Torah. We should know better. If we're taught better, if we have proper teachers. The teachers of Israel are the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron. And if you don't have the son of Aaron, then you don't know any better. And so what are you doing? You're attaching yourself to all of this mishmash and foolishness out here that's leaving you hoodwinked and bamboozled and led astray. And you're mistreating people. Do not mistreat people. Golden rule. Don't mistreat yourself and you won't mistreat people. That is the golden rule. Love yourself and you will love people. Have compassion for yourself and you will have compassion on others. It all starts with yourself. It's not about attaching yourself to some group or affiliation. It's about yourself. When you stand before the Creator of all things, you're standing by yourself. You're standing with the group of Catholicism or the group of Christianity or whatever group that's out there, the group of the non-believer in whatever, blah, blah, blah. You see, it's not about that. Huh? It's not about that. So we must understand that going forward. We must understand that going forward. Real meaning of Islam, I love Islam. Islam, I tell you, you guys, I love Islam. I love Muslims. You guys are great people. I have great friends that are Muslims, and we get on just fine. Why? You know what we have in common? The mind of Moses. We have that in common. The Torah of Moshe, of Musa, Baruch Hashem. That's our commonality. And we embrace that. and we, you are brothers. You are brothers, man. We embrace that. You are brothers. Really, you are brothers. And we embrace that. And that's real. You know, I have no problem with the Christians. They have their place. They have their understanding. I have no problems with the Catholics. They all have their place. But there's a brotherhood and a commonality amongst Islam and the Jews. The people of the books, put it to you like that. We're brothers. We're brothers. And a lot of our ancestors, I don't know if you know this real meaning of Islam, we converted. Because listen, above all things, we value life. Our Torah values life and the preservation of that life. And so a lot of our ancestors had to convert to Islam just to save their lives, to preserve life. And we did that. And we hid away. We tucked away. We hid in Islam. And we kept our way of life alive and embraced it. Because Islam is, I tell you, history is amazing. Islam saved a lot of our people. A lot of our people were saved by, converting to Islam. Baruch Hashem. Love the religion. I have no problem with it at all. Why? It's because we have so much in common. And we agree to disagree on some standpoint. I mean, that's all a part of it. But we can do that respectfully. Agree to disagree on certain areas. I mean, I met some of the coolest, Islam is such a way of life of peace. And it really is. Minus them knuckleheads out there that's raising the banner of Islam and doing all this ISIS mumbo jumbo. That's extremists. And you have those in every group. You have some bad apples that just get out there and do all that craziness. But again, if you really don't have that relationship with yourself and that baseline setting of peace, love, joy, and happiness within inside of yourself, you have to be on guard against falling into some of these quote unquote groups that say, well, all Islam is bad and this is Islam and blah, blah, blah. That's not Islam. I say the same thing about them Christians. Well, Timothy McVeigh blew up that building over there in Oklahoma. Are all Christians blowing up buildings in America as well? Come on, man. You can't. You see, again, these are people who, want to follow the crowd and want to follow consensus, and want to follow what is popular. But again, we as the people of the books understand is we have to judge a man and a woman. We have to look at a man and a woman on a case-by-case basis and look at their doings, not at the doings of somebody else that may be affiliated with them. No, that's not fair. That's not just, and that's definitely not right. Real meaning of Islam saying that all religion comes from one source is only the devil. The devil hated. Yeah, religion is a bunch of pig water, man. Let's just leave them to it. We're going to carry on with our way of life and to do great and marvelous things for these nations that we're in. I would like to get more into the Sodom and Gomorrah situation, but I'm going to have to close, Ms. Baha. It's really getting late over here, and I have many things to do. But I will love you and leave you in the hands of the Most High and say, let's continue on. And I tell you, this lecture today from our Kohen was very, very insightful to where everything starts and finishes, and it starts within ourselves. A lot of folks can't handle that. A lot of folks not ready for it. We leave them to it, and we continue on. And we assist them where they ask for assistance, and if not, we just leave them to it. We leave them to it. But just understand this, and I'm going to close with this part right here. A lot of folks happy with Sodom and Gomorrah. Just look at Lot's wife. A lot of folks are happy with Sodom and Gomorrah and want that kind of life. And I tell you, you shake your head, but people want that. You know what I mean? Lot's wife looked back. Don't look back. When she told not to look, why would she want to look back? Some people, they like to live in the past and not present. When I pass on. But until then, I'm going to be present. So on that note, we'll wrap it up for the Shabbat. I'll say Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Shalom. And I'm going to go over here and change some son's diapers over here, getting ready for the day. Day with Daddy. Baruch Hashem. So I love you and I leave you all in the mighty hands of the Most High. Hey, real meaning of Islam, you're welcome to come back. We open up this forum 9 o'clock Central Time here. And in America here, you're more than welcome to come back and listen in if you like. We welcome all. You're more than welcome to come here. You're our brothers, and we teach the real Torah here, not none of the mumbo jumbo. And we have a Kohen in the gate. We have a priest of Israel here, and real Israel is here. You got the real Israel here, and we let the phony balonies out there play their little role and converts in the way, but Islam, you know who real Israel is. Real meaning of Islam, you know who real Israel really is. You guys know. Believe me. you guys know. I've heard it from several different people. You guys know who real Israel really is. So we'll leave the Khazarian mountains and the Russians to their belief system while we carry on. Baruch Hashem. We sure will. And we're going to carry on because we know that they don't know. And a lot of them do know that they know, but they don't want to know. I'll leave it at the nose. So Shabbat Shalom. Shalom Shalom to all of you, Mishpah. Have a great 6 days of labor ahead. Let's go out and do marvelous and wonderful things for our families, for ourselves, and for the Most High as we publish His name throughout all the world. Be a light to these nations. Love you all, Mishpah.